Hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. I know it's late afternoon. I'm trying to be fast as possible to go through a lot of information. I hope you all enjoy the conference so far today. I heard that there are a lot of fantastic talks. So first of all, who am I and why I'm here today? So my name is Emma, and I'm a cloud security architect at EPAM. So as a consultant, I love design and architect everything in cloud for my clients. EPAM is a security, is a technology consultancy. I would like to say security, but specialize in software engineering, product design, and we help our clients to accelerate their digital transformation programs. Alongside my work, I also volunteering at Women in Cybersecurity Voices UK and Ireland affiliate, and I'm also one of the leads, volunteering as a lead in the community. I'm also a advisory board committee for the computer science faculty at University of Buckingham. So today I'm talking about metrics. So first, before I go into my agenda today, I'd like to set up 3 questions that I'm aiming to answer today. Why are metrics important in the conversation about cloud security? What metrics matters to you and your business? How can you establish effective and meaningful cloud security KPIs? So please keep these questions in your mind. By the end of the talk, I would like you to tell me whether my talk answered those questions. So this is the agenda for today. So we will be discussing about the challenges that we all experience about metrics as a developer and cloud practitioners. Then I will move on to some techniques and best practices, and I will share a couple of examples from my past projects where those techniques has been used to establish key KPIs. And finally, I will wrap up with an overview of the prioritization approach to vulnerability remediation. This is a quote that I got from somewhere by just Google search. What is cloud security metrics? To be honest, cloud, we now have, predicted to be 60%, 64% in the public cloud, maybe higher. So when we're talking about, cloud security metrics, it actually covers multiple domains, instance response, identity access management, software development, and so on. So I don't think there is a specific definition for the cloud security metrics, but just keep in mind that's everything to do with cybersecurity because we are now living on the cloud. So what are the big metric programs? So in my experience with over 20 customers in my project lifetime, so nearly 90% of them have prioritized security metrics as part of the continuous improvement process. But they all struggle to take an action, especially the senior management visibility. So why this is often the case? So I've outlined some of the business challenges to do with metrics. So first of all, we often encountered the misalignment with the business goals, and sometimes business have limited resource to deploy to measure and collect the metrics. So what are the gaming metrics? So gaming metrics is something that, you track the metrics to make your posture look good. So it's not really representative of your true environment. And another challenge is we have evolving threat landscape. So metrics that matters today might not matter tomorrow. And another challenge that we have is we have a lot of tools in our systems, and this can complicate our metric and the measurement of our security. So these are all the factors contributing to the failure of getting the metrics done in the correct way. So I'm not trying to solve this issue today, but I want to talk about it and talk about a few approaches that we can adopt at least to start getting our metric correct. So why do we track metrics? These are the business drivers that I given on my page. I'm not going down each one of them, but I want to emphasize the point that metrics, we want to measure effectiveness. We want to improve our security posture. We want to identify gaps in our security team. We want to identify the gaps in our security toolings, and so on. And finally, you want to track your security posture trend over time. Over time, it's not just now, it's not tomorrow, it's over a period of time to see how much you have improved in your environment. So why do we do this? It all comes down to business risk reduction. So we want to reduce business risk. So think about metrics, security metrics. It's not just security. It's all about business, right? At the end of the day, your business pay for the security to get security, to get the risk remediated. So it's all linked back to the business. I'll talk about that in a minute. So before we dive deeper, I want to clear up some confusions around metrics and KPIs. Maybe some of you already know what are the differences, but metrics is simply a measurement, a snapshot of what's happening right now. However, KPI, on the other hand, is goal-oriented. So they track your progress towards a specific goal. Think of them like the fitness tracker telling you how close you are to your daily goal. So for example, mean time to remediate is a metrics, and it's just a number. But if you say that reduce that number by 25% within the next quarter, that would become a KPI. So that's the important difference between those two. So there are a number of ways to design your metric program. On the page here, I've outlined seven steps. It could be different for each organization, but I think this kind of 7 steps of life cycle can get you started to start thinking about what is your security metric life cycle look like in your organization. So I will drill down into details of each of those steps in this session because I don't have enough time. The bottom line is I would recommend to investigate and further into how you're going to define and follow a metric programs. Okay, so how to identify metrics then? There are a few questions that you can ask your business to start with. Who are the target stakeholders? What value are the metrics bring to your teams and the board? Who to share the metrics with? If you're sharing the metrics with a cloud ops, could be different to sharing the metrics to the reporting to the board. And actionable outcome. You want metrics that don't just measure, but also provides clear insight into where security can be improved. And what are the tools you have right now and that you can utilize to collect and track your metrics from your current tool set? And then you need to think about, okay, we have defined those metrics right now. Can we adapt those metrics to a future trends? Because we talk about the threats, because threats are changing all the time. So we don't want to fixate on one metrics and then it doesn't work for tomorrow. And finally, it's very important that our metrics tells a story, because we want to ensure that our metrics reflect our cloud security posture. Okay. Over the past few years, a few key metrics criteria have been developed. Some of them are generic and not just for security metrics, but these are the framework that I kind of research into. But I think they can all be adopted depending on the preference of your company. So I'm just gonna grab them on my page here. But feel free to look into them. So, how to establish key metrics, /KPIs. So I have two approaches. Yes, I investigated into two approaches. First of all, is the top-down approach. So you started with thinking about the bigger picture. What are the business goals and drivers, and what do you want to achieve? Revenues, customer satisfactory, or regulatory compliance? With the information, then you can define what to measure, and then you can define what are the metrics. So and at the end of it, you identify the tools that you can use to collect and track your metrics. So what is a bottom-up approach is basically the other way around. So you look at the different data points in your tools, and then you identify, okay, what are the data that I can generate from those tools, and what are the metrics I can generate from those tools, and then you work your way up to your business goals, and then at the end of it, you identify the relationship between those metrics. Eventually identifying what are the key metrics and KPIs. So for this one, I've been using the causal loop diagram, which helps me to identify what are the key KPIs for my company. I like this quote that I got from Sneak, like a white paper. There is a research has been conducted by Sneak to build a metric model of mapping relationships and inferences between different data elements, which is the causal loop diagram. I'm going to go through it. Okay, it shows everything. Okay, so why causal loop diagram is important in identifying your key KPIs? So relationship between the metrics can help to understand the dynamic between them. So you can go beyond and looking at different individual metrics and explore how they interact and influence each other. So this is a visualized tool that I can use to establish those relationships. So just to go through some basic. A plus sign in between the two different data points means that there is a direct relationship, which means the increase of one direction leads to increase of another direction. And on the other hand, the minus sign, it means that there is an inverse relationship, which means one increase in one point could lead to a decrease of another. It might look quite complicated to start with. So I also feel the same, but let's take a closer look at the diagram here. So the connections between the number of security instance and the mean time to detect, indicating a balancing loop. So why is that? Because a high instance rate could lead to the detection rate to be longer, because it could affect the detection. However, this could change over time. When security teams increase their efficiency, this could lead to a faster detection rate. So you can play this game, forever, because the situation change over time. But the idea is the causal loop diagram is used to represent to represent the relationship between the two data points. So on this page, I'm going to look at how to use the causal loop diagram to prioritize our metrics. On the left hand, I have a typical example of infrastructure as code security pipeline workflow. So some of you might be familiarized with this. If you don't, it's fine. It's kind of simple and high level in the diagram. So the infrastructure as code or policy as code templates are normally stored in a GitHub repo or any repo, and then you use that to automate your infrastructure provisioning. So every time when you spin up your infrastructure, the policy is applied to ensure your environment is consistent and compliant. And the security scan is used to scan the template for vulnerability. If detected, the resource owner will be notified to fix the issue. So how does it apply to a causal loop diagram? So I collected some of the key metrics from that diagram. For example, number of vulnerability detected, number of vulnerability fixed, and so on. But if you notice on my causal loop diagram, policy violation rate and average time to remediate, they all have multiple data going into their direction, but they have 0 or 1 outgoing relationship, which means they might be the best candidate for your key KPIs. And and they could representing the final KPI that you would like to focus on. Now I would like to talk about the protection level agreement. So, jumping from the causal loop diagram to the protection level agreement is actually the other approach. So protection level agreement is kind of like top-down approach, because it kind of make you think about your business need and your business requirement, and then identifying the risk, your risk tolerance and the cost of protection. So what are you need to think about what are the drivers that you can drive towards the security outcome? What are the outcomes that you want to have in your business? So, so this technique was researched and published by Gartner. It's a tool provides a way to translate security into the language of business. It's like a service level agreement, if you want to put it in a more familiarized way. But this is an agreement of protection between the security team and the business stakeholders or leaders. So the business decide the amount of budget they would like to invest into align their efforts to, and the security deciding what are the level of protection they can offer for that budget. So this is crucial. Because it's used to balance the business needs and the security requirements. Essentially, what would you like to protect? How much would you willing to invest into protecting our business, right? So on the next page, I'm going to dive down into the different stages of the protection level agreement, how it can be implemented to establish your KPIs. So this is a 5-step approach. So firstly, you want to figure out what really matters to the business. So you think about the business driver. What are the absolute must-haves? How much risk are we comfortable with? Knowing these answers sets the direction for everything else. Next, we can look at what are the cloud assets that we want to protect and what are their criticality. Normally, you can use an inventory tool to identify those inventory, and then you identify what are those crown jewels. So you can design what are the protection level that you want for each of those risk level for those inventory. So this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. So you need to think about that, criticality a little bit more. Then you map the security controls with the identifying protection level for each of those risk level. It seems to be quite complicated, but actually it's really easy to understand at the end of the day, because think about it, you just want to establish different protection level for different assets, for the different criticality of assets. And at the end of it, you want to establish the PLA using the outcome-driven metrics. Now I'm giving an example of how this works. So in this slide, I use PLA to prioritize remediation investments. In this example, consumer markets have different kind of systems. You have critical system, you have other systems, internal systems. So for each type of system, you have different patch management, day to patch target. For example, for the critical system, you want to aim for 35 days or 30 days of PLA. That is your protection level. And then what are the observed outcome? So the number in the red here indicating that we actually observing 40 days were actually required to patch the vulnerability in this systems. So this indicating a few gaps. So what do we do now? We identifying that the current security budget is not enough to patch the system within the agreed timeline. And then we have decisions that we can make available to the business, right? We can think about, can we increase security budget? Can we adjust the protection level to 40 days by accepting the risk? So now you have plenty of, options to think about. That is a conversation that needs to be happened between your security team and the business. Right, let's go down to the case studies. I think this section, this section of the talk should be quite fun. I hope it's fun, but it does have a lot of information on it. So the first use case, the first case study I would like to present is one of the projects that I used to work for. It's a global energy supply operations company. So it's a global company in a global setting. So they are critical infrastructure. They are doing energy supply. They use cloud deployment, but they are still in the greenfield cloud migration. They're migrating to the cloud from the start, and they also have a lot of on-premises environment. So the thing about this, the challenge that they're facing here is they don't have clear governance, and also they have over 17 security metrics that they identified in their project. And then they will struggle to identify the key KPIs. So that is what they ask us to help them to identify the key KPIs. So we asked them, what are the story you want to share? So what do you want to do with your KPIs? And then they said, okay, we want to measure our team efficiency. We are migrating to the cloud. Of course, we want to track the cloud security posture. And most importantly is we want to communicate security risk to the board. So, okay, they want to do security risk to the board, and they don't want to feed too much KPIs to the board because they wouldn't be interested in too much. So that is our goal. We want to identify those metrics for the board. And then during this project, that we have reviewed a list of KPIs that they have identified. So the company initially focused on metrics like the ones that you see on the slides. They seems to be valid metrics, right? But actually, when you look into those metrics, they are not outcome driven. You can't really do anything about it. Number of incidents, vulnerability alerts detected. What do you do with them? What are the outcome? If the higher number of incidents doesn't representing an improvement of the security posture. And for example, another example is vulnerability metrics based on the CVSS based risk scoring. And although it seems to be legit, it's good. Of course, it's legit, but simply using the CVSS score alone can be misleading because sometimes not all the vulnerabilities are having the same likelihood of exploitation. So now you want to kind of look further other approach to mitigate that gap. And then finally, percentage and number of threats blocked by XYZ tools. It seems to be a good one, but in fact, a lot of noises that we have experienced or experiencing in our tools, especially cloud security tools. There's so much noises, and we want to so much work that we need to do in order to drill down those, in order to solve those issues. So these are the metrics and KPIs that we propose to this company. Please do not read into them because they might be good metrics or KPIs for this company, but they might not be the good one or right one for your company. Right. So I just want to explain a few facts about this. We asked the story that the security team wants to share with their business leaders. So we talk about it with them and understand that they want to prioritize, understanding their business priorities and the risk tolerance level. And we also identified a few outcome-driven metrics from those lists. So, for example, the board wants to gain a visibility of how security posture look like. So we proposed the CSPN score. I know CSPN score could be quite controversial. but could be quite wrong because because sometimes it might not be representing the true posture of your company. But the thing is, you want to separate them by subscription or accounts or projects, depending on the cloud provider that you use. And then you want to set a target that is realistic. And for each different project, they have different criticality. You want to set maybe a 80% of target for one project, maybe a 60% minimum for another project. But also, at the end of it, you want to also define a baseline for the entire company, so you have a consistency that you want to match. For example, 60% is your baseline. You can't go below that, and you want to maintain that. Something like that. And then things like the instance management, instance response management metrics, they are the good one to look into. But you need to think about whether you can align with the industry benchmarks. What are the similar business that you how do they operate? What is their mean time to remediate, and whether you are vulnerable to ransomware attack? So something like that. You just need to know what are the business driver behind those metrics, and then you can think about public cloud workloads. How can we achieve the compliance of the cloud workload production in the production environment? And then we want to set a target that's realistic for that approach. So so the bottom line is that you want to identify the metrics and KPIs that actually apply for your organization. This is the second example that I have. This another project. So this company is quite different to the previous company. It's a payment service company. It's highly regulated. They are subject to PCI DSS compliance requirements, but they are a small company. They are a SME in this sense. So they have a dedicated SOC team, but they don't have a dedicated SOC team. They are relying on the external managed service provider to operate that. So what matters to them is the innovation. So innovation comes to application development, and they want to use they are using cloud native environments. They want to go fully cloud native in terms of software development. So what we have suggesting here is that we want to they can shift left, they can implement shift left security mindset, and then they can leverage the different tool sets such as the SaaS infrastructure as code scans and DAS and backlog management, everything to leverage those tools to establish their metrics. They don't have any metrics to start with. So these are the metrics that we have proposed for them. So we think about the data that come out from those processes. Think about, the delivery pipelines. What can you identify from that delivery pipeline in terms of metrics? And also, how does instance response process of the organization get involved? Are there any data elements that could fit into our metrics and into our measurement of the security posture, and what is actually relevant to what we are doing here? So because they are adopting the shift left, so we focus a lot of the metrics on the software development. So for example, the production code passed automatic security test. It's used to demonstrate that the code vulnerability are being addressed early in the development lifecycle. The infrastructure as code coverage rate also allows the company to understand how much infrastructure is compliant. And also, we have dropped some of the identity, the IAM based metrics here. For example, the risky sign-in of risky user for cloud identity and the percentage of the privileged accounts that have the PIN privilege identity management policy assigned, something like that. So they have experienced a few instances in the past. So they are very conscious about, whether our users are risky in the environment. So those, and also they want to demonstrate the cost of, fixing the security bugs early in the life cycle. So that's why we put down the cost of security bugs remediation at the staging or production stage. I know some of the metrics might be difficult to measure, but the idea is to get the mindset into your business, into your developers, in order to help to ask them to collaborate with security teams. Okay, so that's my case study. I hope that's not too much of information. But now I would like to talk about EPSS. So the EPSS is for vulnerability prioritization. So, as we all know, that CVSS score creates a blind spot because we don't get actual probability of the vulnerability being exploited. And even small amounts of vulnerability are actually exploited. So that's why EPSS approach could be used to prioritize your remediation effort. So maybe some of you already heard about it or already apply to your organization. But this is essentially representing the likelihood of the exploitation. So sometimes you want to balance the efficiency of the team and the EPSS coverage. For example, the higher the EPSS threshold, the higher the efficiency and the lower of the coverage that you want to remediate. So you only want to focus on those ones that have higher likelihood of being exploited. So that's kind of like the choice between your risk tolerance and your coverage. And on this slide, I had a few examples of how EPSS can be used in your KPI. So I just need to run a little bit more faster. Okay, so where can you collect your metrics from? I've listed a few tools. They are, I don't put down the vendors' names here, but in the next page. But these are all the security tools that you can identify your metrics and collect your metrics. On this page, I've put down some example of the tools, but I want to be vendor neutral. So it's just some suggestions. I mean, it's some of the tools that I have used in the past. For example, you want to enable the observability for your cloud native security, and you want to use the CSPM or a workload platform to manage your inventory and a security posture, and so on. And you can use a few visualization tools to present your metrics. Okay, this is our key takeaways. Just a few tips to get you started on the metrics program. So firstly, KPI is not just for security teams, they are business decisions. So you need to align your metrics with your organization's specific goals and risk tolerance. And remember, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. You want to customize your metrics to meet your unique environment and requirements. And also you can use the protection level agreement to shift responsibility from security to the organization's business leaders. Then, please, you can start with something small and something essential. Don't go big. Don't create 70 metrics to start with, because that could mess with your mindset. And then, don't get lost in the numbers. Look at trends and patterns, because there are more actionable insights you can get from those trends and patterns. So finally, is that don't work silos. We want security and the developers to work together and collaborate. And so the most important thing is you want to identify the metrics that truly matters for your business, not truly matters for everything, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's my talk. Yeah, I've got my LinkedIn here. Feel free to connect with me, but yeah. Any questions? Do we have time?
Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes.
Okay, great. One question then.
One question that's already taken.
All right.
Yeah.
That's quick. Any questions?
With disparate systems, you did mention that most of your case studies they were moving towards centralised. Yes, trying to use the same tool as keep everything centralised. Obviously, that takes time.
Yeah.
So, what's your recommendation to what should you do in the middle there, from your experience?
Oh, your question is about how. So if we want to move from separating tools into centralized tools into a centralized solution, what do you do in the meanwhile, right? So I don't think there is a good answer to this one, because already depending on your timeline and how much time you have to move to the centralized solutions. But in the meanwhile, I think it's when you manage your vendors, it's difficult to get rid of one vendors, because you might have a contract in place, right? So and you might want to finish that contract. But the thing is, you want to identify what the capability that you already have and what do you want to achieve. And then you want to identify the right tools that is going to be centralized, and how can you integrate different tools to that centralized tool. Sometimes it's not about getting rid of multiple tools. It's all about feeding the data into a centralized tool that you can manage it in a more efficient way. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Thanks, Emma. We're going to have to finish up. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you.